Town Plan and Zoning Commission. I am Commissioner Ozzie Parenti.
Tamara Trantalis, Administrative Assistant.
Tom Parenti.
Paul Kaplan.
Kevin Cornell.
Judy Smith.
Jack Demerjen, Zoning Enforcement Officer.
Okay, thank you. First item on our agenda this evening is a review of the minutes from the October 19th and the October 19th, 2021 regular meeting and the October 20, 2021 special meeting. Let's take the 10-19 minutes first. Short and sweet. I had just one comment, Tammy. On page 2, second full paragraph, Chairman Parenti stated that this application required a special permit for the height of the building. I think it should say height and size of the building. But other than that, I'm okay with the minutes. Everybody else all right? All right, then a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a motion. Second?
Second.
It's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, the minutes of the October 20 special meeting. Everybody have those? What's the matter?
Oh, sure.
Could throw one over here, too.
I have just a couple comments on this one, Tammy. In the third full paragraph on page 1, paragraph begins, Attorney Marino stated, and then midway through that paragraph, again, it says Attorney Marino stated that Orange must conform to the legislature as it is now law. I think we could simplify that a little bit and just say must conform to the law. And then down below, at the last paragraph on the page, Attorney Marino urged the commission to re-examine the current regulations. He suggested the commission engage a planning consultant. Did he say that? Did he suggest it?
He
I don't
mentioned re-examining, but I think we suggested, or we noted that last time we did this, we engaged an outside planner.
Okay.
I don't think he suggested it.
All right. I wasn't even sure that we even mentioned that.
We absolutely did, because I
All right.
remember Glenn Childer's
But
name
I don't
came
think
up.
it came from Vinnie, though, in that case.
No, I don't think it. Certainly the name didn't come from Vinny.
One of the commissioners mentioned,
It was
suggested.
It was discussed.
Yeah, something
Keep it
like
vague.
that. I just don't think, I just don't recall that, that happening. All right, anything else on the minutes of the special meeting? Okay, a motion to approve? Second?
Second.
We have a motion, it's been seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Next item on our agenda is old business. Does anyone have anything under that topic that they'd like to bring up?
Just one thing, Jack, prior to our public hearing on the commercial vehicle parking regulation, could you just be able to affirmatively state that there either is or is not a provision for owner school buses parking in the residential zone?
To my knowledge, there is not. I remember looking after we brought it up the first time. There is nothing that alludes to the private ownership of a school bus, even if you are an employee of the town, or using the school bus to help, the town school system. There's no provision in there about allowing that kind of use. It is still would be considered a prohibited vehicle by weight and size.
in the regulations we are currently proposing.
Correct.
Okay, all right, I just wanted to have that fact when we start our discussion on that topic, because we may want to consider allowing those people to engage in their livelihood.
Continue to.
A popular idea.
I know there is a shortage of bus drivers these days, so that would,
There you go.
yeah.
Okay, that's good. We expect to have that on our agenda for the next meeting, or?
Yeah, I was going to go over it in my report a little
Oh, all right.
bit, but I could go over it now, too.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
We'll hit it, you cover it in your report. All right, nothing else under old business? Okay, how about under new business?
I have something under new business, and I want to congratulate Ozzy, Kevin, and Tom. I didn't run. No. The three gentlemen got re-upped for a 4-year term serving on the Planning and Zoning Board, and I think they bring tremendous expertise to our commission, and our town is well-served to have the three of you back.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's very nice of you to mention it. It's my pleasure to serve.
Let's
Leave
go
it-
with that.
Huh?
The band is back.
Very
Kevin
good.
likes the sour.
Thank you. Any other new business?
Maybe I'll bring up the David Funk PowerPoint presentation
Yeah.
Ozzy and I
Yeah, I was gonna
watched
mention.
last Thursday about the new housing mandates coming down from Hartford, and so it was very informative, and we definitely think it should be shared with the whole commission and the public, and we'll just figure out how and when we do that. But it'll just, educate everybody on the new mandates coming down so we can comply.
Yeah.
Well, you should be able to send a PowerPoint out on the
Right,
Zoom.
didn't you send it to us?
Yeah, we could forward the PowerPoint. but the-
Individual?
But the presentation was very, very good, I
No,
think
no,
something.
Okay, I meant that while we're on air, I think there's probably a methodology to share the PowerPoint with the public.
I think we could set something up where we use our screen back there, where maybe we can invite him down, and he
Okay.
could kind of go through his PowerPoint at a regularly scheduled meeting. I know we've already heard it, but I think it would be very beneficial for everybody else
Yeah.
and the public to hear.
That's what I thought.
He's very knowledgeable,
At
so.
a regularly scheduled meeting when we don't have a lot of other stuff on the agenda.
And then
that-
it would be broadcast through OGAT, so
Right.
the public could see it.
The more
if they can-
people see that, I think the better. It'll make it easier for us as we formulate a plan,
And he did send us the link to the PowerPoint, so if anybody does just want to go through it on their own time, I'm more than happy to provide that, so.
Send me a link.
Yeah,
Please.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a housing consultant that was hired by the South Central Regional Planning Agency.
Right.
Yeah.
And the
Presentation was to whom?
Jack, Ozzy, and I
Yep.
initially.
Okay, good. Was it to anybody, I mean, it wasn't to the rest of the state or anything like that?
No, they're doing the various towns in
Got it.
that little
Okay.
council.
Yeah.
He asked to meet with the chairman, right? I mean,
Yeah, he pretty much said that for all municipalities that the South Central Region Council of Governments cover, who are going to be involved in this collective housing, submittal that we have to give to the state, he's giving the same presentation to all the municipalities that request it, and he encourages everybody to have it. Not just to us, but members of the public as well, because it really did follow the trends of housing in Connecticut and the way that we're moving. So it really is just general knowledge, great to have. So,
Yeah, he made some good arguments about certain maybe widely held beliefs that are not necessarily the reality, and so I think it's very informative. It'd be helpful to us all. Thank you for bringing that up. That slipped my mind. All right, anything else under new business? Okay, then the report of the zoning enforcement officer.
for the commercial vehicles, we are set to have that on the next agenda. Everything's all squared away. We have our responses from the regional planning authorities. I was gonna wait and see how tonight went. I didn't want to overload one agenda, but more than happy to put it on the next one. I know we already have one public hearing scheduled for our next meeting, but that's, not gonna take forever. It's just a special permit application. So depending on where tonight goes, we could certainly do that
Right.
next meeting. But definitely open to suggestions.
Okay. Well, yeah, let's see how tonight goes.
Yeah.
I would expect we could get through
Yeah.
the public hearing tonight and even make a decision on the subject.
I
But
think so too.
let's see what
So
we
we'll
want.
plan tentatively on doing that next meeting. Other than that, I don't have anything.
Okay. Any reports on pending construction projects, projects underway?
197 Indian River, the elderly care facility, they update me, twice a week. They're very good about it.
Percentage-wise, how far along are they?
I would say, it's a tough question. I would say maybe 50%. All the earthwork is pretty much done. They are constructing the building, doing some interior work.
They got months.
Months to go. They are a little bit behind schedule because they had that period during COVID where nobody was working for several months. I know Beecher Walk near the transfer station, that's moving along. I know we just spoke with him. They're chugging away. They're selling as fast as they could build them there.
It's unbelievable.
So
Great.
Have a friend who moved in. They love it. Yeah, nice job.
They're nice looking units.
Good. All right, that's it, Jack?
Yeah, that's all I got.
Very good, thank you. All right, then, we're ready to get to our public hearings, plural, but it's actually, we can take them all in one shot. Let's begin by having Commissioner Kaplan read the legal notice into the record.
All righty. So to appear one time on Wednesday, October 20th, 2021, and one time on Wednesday, October 27th, 2021, the Orange TPZC notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that on Wednesday, November 3rd, 2021 at 7 p.m. at the Orange Town Hall, 617 Orange Center Road, the Orange Town Plan and Zoning Commission will conduct a public hearings on the following. Petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations submitted upon the initiative of the Orange Planning and Zoning Commission to prohibit cannabis establishments / distributors from all zoning districts within the town of Orange. Petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations submitted upon the initiative of the town of Orange Planning and Zoning Commission to allow cannabis establishments / distributors in the C1-C2 zoning districts by special use permit. And a petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations submitted upon the initiative of the Town of Orange Planning and Zoning Commission to install a moratorium on any applications to permit cannabis establishments / distributors in the Town of Orange. The expiration date of said moratorium would be 1 year from the date enacted or the effective date of the associated newly adopted zoning regulations. A copy of this notice has been filed with the Orange Town Clerk. Additional information is on file in the Orange Zoning Department. Dated in Orange, Connecticut, this 18th day of October, 2021.
All right, good, thank you, Paul. All right, so here's where we are on this. The law changed and legalized recreational marijuana in the state of Connecticut. And we find ourselves now in the position of having 4 choices with respect to how we react to that legislation. And the first choice we have is to do nothing, in which case, if a cannabis establishment applicant submits an application, we would be, I think we would be compelled to treat it like any other retail establishment. So to the extent that it's a retail use, it would be permitted as a right in the commercial, in the C1 commercial districts. So that's what happens if we do nothing. Our other choices are to adopt a moratorium, and we indicated in the notice that that would be for a duration of a year, and that's an alternative that gives us some flexibility to see what happens with the law as it's implemented, to figure out what exactly we want to do about it, as in possibly prohibiting it or regulating it in some way. Third, we can prohibit it, the recreational use of marijuana tonight. The legislation allows us to do that. Or we can regulate it, and if you recall, Vinnie drafted a regulation that was designed to address some of the concerns we had expressed. And basically, what we were looking to do was limit hours of operation, location of a store, you know, not having it near places of worship or schools or you know, that type of use. So the notice was meant to lay out what we view as the potential options, and now we can conduct our public hearing, hear from the public, see what we can learn, and then hopefully make a decision on which way we want to take this. Any questions? All right, then. I think we'll move then right away to take input from the public. Anybody who wishes to speak as to this matter is welcome to come forward to the podium and give their point of view. Mitch? Somebody.
My name is Patrick O'Neill, and I lived in Orange for about 45 years. I just wanted to say a few words, and I'll try to be brief. My concern about the sale of marijuana in the town is related to my concerns about opioid addiction in general. So I'm in the biotech industry, highly aware of opioid problem in the United States. It's a crisis. In Connecticut, the CDC estimates that more than 1,200 people will die from drug overdoses this year, and probably an equal amount will die because they're addicted and it generates other physical problems and disease, your body's weakened, and so forth. So many medical people consider, and some don't, obviously, that marijuana is a gateway drug. You try it, it's interesting, occasionally smoke it. But for those people who have those addictive attributes, once they try it, it's like hard drugs or alcohol or gambling, they can't put it down. So my concern is, and there has already, when this legislation was proposed, mainly by city legislative representatives, there was some controversy over writing the bill because it favored one Westport area business person. So it also, not only in my mind, not only the danger of creating an environment where there's another potential pathway for addiction. Not that it won't happen to everyone, but a pathway. But you had those early feelers of corruption. If people, in my opinion, if people want to buy marijuana, there are already state-mandated retail opportunities in the Connecticut cities. The shoreline towns, Guilford, Madison, have zoned out the sale. Greenwich, I'm not sure about Westport, but a number of towns, especially along the shoreline, have already zoned out the sale of marijuana in their towns. And I agree with that for the reasons I just mentioned. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Any questions for Mr. O'Neill?
Sure.
Slipped away. Never existed.
He was very succinct.
Oh.
You know.
All right.
The only other thing I would mention.
You got to say this because they're recording.
The only other thing I'd mention, and that reminds me, at the time this legislation was proposed, the New Haven Register ran a letter from a doctor in Denver who was offering his opinion, who was originally pro marijuana and now has experienced the effects in Colorado. And one statistic, I don't have it with me, but I'll just relate from memory. if it's accurate, was that more than 50% of the people showing up for commercial trucking licenses failed. Because they had drug residue in their bodies. Now, I think I remember that correctly, but I think the point was you encourage that, and we encourage that on our town streets. If other towns are not allowing the sale, that encourages more people to drive through our town to get to the retail outlet. Those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mitch? At least I think it's you.
It is me. It's me. First of all, let me ask a question. We're addressing, I'm sorry, Mitch Goldblatt, 291 Drummond Road, Orange. Mr. Chairman, we're addressing all three together?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure that was clear. So, thank you very much, first of all, for putting this together. I am disappointed there aren't more people here. Last time we had this discussion, we thought this might be a large public hearing. I see that it's not, which is disappointing because I think you, like the rest of us, would like to hear more opinions, but so be it. I am here. And with all due respect to the last speaker, the concerns he brought up are ones that the state legislature should have, would have, could have, and maybe did grapple with. But the fact is that they did pass a law. It may not be a law that we all supported. It may not be what we thought was best for the state of Connecticut. But it is here. It is a law that now allows us as communities to regulate the sale, dispensary of cannabis. And with that, I think what you've done tonight, just by coming forward, is to bring to us, the public, the proposed regulations. And the proposed regulations, by the allowance of the state law, give you, the Town Plan and Zoning Commission, the ability to put in certain restrictions while still allowing cannabis to be sold, dispensed, manufactured in the town of Orange. And by that, in reading what you've put together, you are putting in restrictions from how close this can be to a place of worship or a school. You can limit it to certain zones, a zone or zones in our town. And therefore, I think that with those restrictions, that having a regulation that allows cannabis sale, dispensary, manufacturing in the town of Orange is appropriate. It's appropriate because we do have a state regulation that allows it. It's appropriate because you're going to put in the restrictions that will give the controls that the town would like to see. It also is something that is now legal. We may not agree with it, but it is legal. There are people that don't agree with alcohol, but it is legal. The state has put in a number of regulations and restrictions concerning who can get a license, what it takes to get a license, and how it's going to be regulated. There are similar regulations and state controls on pharmacies and on liquor stores, both of which dispense drugs that could be mind-altering, life-altering, and dangerous. But yet, we see the benefits of that. And so there's benefits by having this here because it will be regulated. It's also something that some people don't accept, and I respect that. There are people that are very much against any kind of cannabis consumption or sale in their town. There's also people that are against guns. There are also people who are against pornography. There are people who are against liquor. There are people against cigars and cigarettes. We have all of that in this town because we have all that throughout the state of Connecticut. And I think by prohibiting this in our town, we are therefore not being business friendly, and we're not being a town that is welcoming of all types of business, because we have, as I've just told you, all types of business in this town. And the last point, and not to be understated or overstated, I know it's not your purview, but as a member of the Board of Selectmen and also as a taxpayer in this town, there is a revenue aspect of this as well. And I know there's been some concern about, well, we may have to chase people. We have individuals in our town that I'm very confident in that can figure out how to write the invoice and where to send the invoice to the state of Connecticut, not to the purveyor, but to the state of Connecticut, to collect our fair share the same way we collect other fees and taxes from our individuals and the state of Connecticut.
Can you just illustrate?
Yep.
I don't know. Is that an issue to get our money if there's a sale? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, well, it's not a sale. My understanding, and I don't have the bill in front of me, Commissioner Kaplan, my understanding is that if we have a dispensary distribution in the town of Orange, any town, they have to report their sales to the state of Connecticut, just like any other business.
I assume liquor store or anything else.
The same thing. The difference is, my understanding once again, that there is an additional tax on cannabis that's not on liquor or any of those other aforementioned items or anything else you buy in the town, a sales tax, that is then sent back to the town upon the town being in touch with the state of Connecticut, getting the revenues that were sold. I think it's quarterly. It may be more, maybe less, but let's say it's, for argument's sake, it's quarterly. We would then send the bill to the state of Connecticut to retrieve the total, that portion of the sales tax that is generated from the sale.
And then that tax that's collected can only be used for certain purposes. by the
Yes,
town.
and thank you, Mr. Chairman. That is true. And I think those purposes that if you know, it's hard to guess how much money there is, although people that I've spoken to anecdotally say there's a lot of money in this business. You just look across the borders. That money does have restrictions, as the chairman has pointed out. But think about what we could use those monies for education, for drug and alcohol education. We have a drug and alcohol committee in this town and a coordinator. We have a youth services committee. We have an OV&A in this town. We have a DARE program, or at least we used to, in this town. Those are the types of things that we could use that money for that would also, depending on how much we get, not just put the money towards what the legislation is intending it for, which is to help educate and to help for those that might be addicted, all right? But also to have that opportunity to possibly also take that portion or a portion of our budget and have it paid for from other places. And that would be from that retailer. And I think, as you've already know, and I think just for the public's sake, my understanding, once again, of the legislation is that we, the town of Orange, can only have one single dispensary in this town based on population. My understanding is that if a town has 25,000 or less, they can only have one, and then multiples of 25,000. If we were Milford, for instance, or West Haven,
Right.
I believe the number is 2, maybe 3.
But that doesn't speak to any kind of retail establishment, correct?
I believe it does.
So it's only one retail
I
establishment?
believe, my understanding is that is correct. There could only
One
be
dispensary will be
Yeah.
in the town if we permit. Yep.
Yeah.
a maximum of one.
Yep.
And obviously, by your decision, it could be 0, but I mean, a maximum of 1. All right? And last point is that I'm sure that our neighboring towns will take advantage of this, and the people are going to drive through our town to get to the others. There's no reason why we shouldn't have that one in our town. I'm not an expert on cannabis. I certainly am not. But what I've been told, it's not the case where people are going to be going to a cannabis dispensary and then lighting up or imbibing on the way home. It's a different generation, a different type of usage. But that's my understanding. I don't think we have to worry about that issue per se.
Well,
So I want to.
The person who takes that risk takes the same risk as someone who drives intoxicated.
Absolutely. Same person who goes to a liquor store and buys a nip and has that before they get back in the car, which is probably a lot easier. But nonetheless, I mean, those are my points. I appreciate you having this meeting, this public hearing tonight. I appreciate you listening to me. And if there's any questions, any other questions, I guess, I'd be glad to answer them if I can. If not, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mitch. Okay, anyone else wish to speak on the matter? Nobody else?
We have one coming.
I see other people in the audience, I just wondered if. Okay. Well, I don't know. Can't you sit here and wait for somebody to show up and talk to us?
I hope not. I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
Right.
I wonder if we could reach out to Chief Gagné and maybe get some of his input. That might be helpful with regard to regulating or his concerns about,
Yeah, I wish we had thought of that. That's a good idea.
Although I will point out that if he had real strong objections, he would have,
He probably
I think he would
would've-
have let us know.
Yeah.
Or the board of selectmen.
All right, well, does the commission think we need information? Well, do you think we need that information in order
well,
to
I
make?
mean, because I think he's a town expert, you can close the public hearing and still receive information from staff, sort of. I mean, he's not really staff, but, or you could keep the public hearing open.
Yeah, I just,
Maybe get more people.
The one thing that makes me nervous is I don't know how far along the licensing process has gotten to. So, I mean, if we, we do nothing tonight, can we be might we be faced with with an application before the end of the week?
So the Public Act for allowing the recreational use of cannabis, that was the state's rollout. It didn't pick a date certain that said, as of this date, this can occur.
It's active right now, is what you're saying. That's what you're asking.
Yes.
I'm
Well,
not sure.
It's active, but I don't know if anyone has, if people are, there must be people in the process of trying to get licensed by the state.
Okay.
So I wonder how far along that process is. And if we need to be in a hurry to, I don't know, hurry, but I mean, we need to act promptly.
Well,
To do what we're inclined to do.
all right.
Whatever that is.
So, do we need, if we're going to discuss our four options, is it appropriate to close the public hearing and proceed to discussion, or is it appropriate to bring it up while the hearing's open?
Other than Judy's suggestion with the law enforcement giving us some input, which I think makes, some sense, would that be considered to be, do we have to keep the public hearing open for that? Because we certainly don't have to keep the public hearing open for the public that doesn't exist, that don't
Right.
want to, that aren't here.
Yeah, I mean, we could keep the public hearing open and have, a lot more input next time, but we might not. Yeah, I don't know. But I think if we're going to deliberate and make a decision, as in tonight, we need to close the public hearing.
Right. Yeah. I'd like to propose a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Hearings.
Sorry.
Yeah, we're
The
treating
collective.
these collectively. Okay, so we have a motion to close the public hearing. It's been seconded. Is there, Paul Kaplan's seconded the motion. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, then.
didn't get any clarity, but if we needed to get input from law enforcement, is that staff?
Staff.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that
think
so,
could
too.
still
Yeah.
come in after.
Yeah,
the
That was
okay.
Judy's comment. All right, so then all those in favor of closing the public hearing signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and none opposed.
Right.
Well, who wants to kick us off here?
So ultimately, I am pretty ambivalent about whether Orange has or does not have a dispensary. Connecticut has seen fit to do this, and it's going to exist in our immediate environment.
It's reality.
It's a reality. So, but with that said, I believe personally that when things of this magnitude happen, the law of unintended consequences takes over, and you don't have any idea what it's going to actually look like right now. All right? So I think that a prudent move for us might be to go for a moratorium and observe how this rollout actually occurs around us and in the state to see if it is relatively benign, it's just another store with another sin tax attached to it, and everyone goes along their merry way, or it turns into some crazy storm of, this person pointing at that person, and you gave a permit to this person, I deserved the permit, type of, just crazy nonsense. And plus, we can take in additional information from the police chief or, concerned citizens. No, that's closed public hearing, so no, not them. And
But I think you were going in a direction that I hadn't really considered, which is you can see how other towns have dealt with it, how it rolls out, issues that arise. I mean, I think that's. I think that's all.
It could help us more narrowly, if we were to allow it, narrowly tailor the regulations to avoid the problems that other people have, engaged in.
I'm sorry, did I jump on?
Well, I mean, to speak to
Yep.
moratoriums, we've done them in the past when we worked on our PRDs. And it's not to punt an issue and stall it, it's to take your time, do your homework, get information, and sort of have a very deliberate process to try to get to the best product for your town.
I really hadn't considered that as one of the reasonable alternatives, but it seems to me to make some sense. I wish I could articulate it as well as Mitch did. I think he did a very nice job. I'm certainly in that camp of, listen, I think there'll be a dispensary, I guess they call it here. I don't see it. It is reality. The law is the law, and it's going to allow those. It's legal in Connecticut, and why shouldn't it be here? Since we have other things similar, not the same. Everything's a little different, but you can make an argument and a case for alcohol and cigarettes and things like that. So I really think Mitch articulated it very well. That being said, it's a it wouldn't. I think it would be prudent to do what you're saying. Okay, let's see how it works out. Let's see what other towns do with it. I'm sure other towns are going to, some towns are going to approve it. We've tried to be on the forefront before with regard to, I'm thinking about the train station. We did our very best to handle all the different alternatives and did a relatively crappy job despite our very best efforts, including bringing in experts, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, and that's what's ringing in my head when Kevin said, let's see how other people, do it first.
I mean, you might find out that, when West Haven or Milford or somebody else has an applicant that they approve, you might find out that it creates a horrible traffic nightmare, and it'd be good to know about that before we said we were going to allow it. The other thing with a moratorium, it's we could enact the 1-year moratorium, but can act at any time during that year
Right, it's
to
up
regulate
to
it.
a year, so you could come to a conclusion
So I
prior
mean, if
to.
a couple months from now we see things that prompt us to feel like the coast is clear, and we're not concerned about any issues in terms
Right.
of approving an application, we can act then to regulate.
I think it's important that we act now, whether it's tonight or next week or whatever, but I think it's important for us to act, but I don't think it's And listen, our town subsisted very well and for the last X amount of years without the income or of the cannabis. So I don't think it's anything of unbelievable consequence. And I think that makes some sense. I really do. Meaning a moratorium and let's see what happens.
Tom?
I've been wrestling with a regulated facility and a moratorium, so I'm fine with a moratorium.
I mean, I was comfortable enough with the proposed regulations that Vin drafted, and I think that fit the bill for us. I could live with that tonight. I'm not prepared to support prohibiting it. And I certainly want to do something because I don't want an applicant to come in with no regulations that are binding on them. So for me anyway, the choice would be between adopting the regulations that Vinnie drafted, which regulate the intended use, or the moratorium.
And I also believe that Vinnie had a very good pass at the foreseeable consequences of the impacts we can think about. And I'm just, as I said, leaning towards the moratorium idea because of things we're not foreseeing. Like, is there going to be a sudden gold rush of applications and then there's 5 on Jack's desk and who gets the prize?
Well, but isn't it a process where the state licenses the establishment?
The retailer,
So in other words, they're not going to license, and you have to, in that application, I'm sure you have to designate a location.
And I would be sure of that if they had actually done it already.
Well, that's I don't know. I don't
You're
know where
meaning
they are in it.
they wouldn't in your mind they wouldn't license
They
somebody
wouldn't.
in Orange if they already had somebody in Orange based on the fact that the regulation says less than
Yeah.
25,000.
I mean, Mitch is exactly right. It's you can't, if a population of ours, you can't have more than one location.
Yeah.
So why would the state license 6 people in the town of Orange if they could only accommodate one? If the
And-
town could only accommodate
And
one.
as I said, if next month the state starts licensing people and we see that there's an orderly process that
Dumping it down to the town level and making us make the decision.
yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
then I'm happy to bring it up again next month.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too concerned about that. Again, because I think the license specifies a location, and it doesn't make sense that they would license multiple people in a town where you can only,
So you're saying that you think that particular decision would be made at the state level if there were 5 applicants
Yeah.
from the town of Orange, they're going to decide which of the ones from the town of Orange would be acceptable.
the ones that want to locate in the town of Orange, which is,
Yeah. Listen, I don't disagree, but
I don't know, and I guess all the more reason why we should wait to make a decision.
I mean, if an orderly process, happens,
That's what happened with the medical marijuana.
it,
It was a very, very, very involved process, the licensing process, so. And you had to demonstrate, one of the things you had to demonstrate is that you had secured a location. You couldn't just say, I want a license, and I might open anywhere I want to open.
So the determination for the medical marijuana was made at the state level. In other words, of the 10 applicants or 8, whatever it was, the state made the determination.
Right, well, I think they decided what locations were going to get
Were viable.
facilities.
Mhm.
Either dispensary or grow facilities, and then licensed people to fill those spots.
okay, then wouldn't that mean that someone would have to come to us to make sure that they could go in a location before they got a license?
Well, they'd have to they'd have to be able to show that they had an option, for example, to lease space in a building in Orange.
But it has to be in a zone where we permit it, and if we don't have a regulation,
So they
Well,
would
it-
need municipal
Well, it hasn't,
approval
it
prior
hasn't.
to state approval.
is that, yeah, we don't
It
really
could-
know the
I'm not
process.
sure.
No, I
Yeah.
don't know that that's the case. I think,
Well, if we had a regulation, you could know with some certainty whether the location fit
Yes.
within
in other words,
the
if you-
Venn diagram of
Yeah, if you
of the
were-
prohibitions.
if you applied for a license, you'd have to show that you had rights in a certain location. And those rights could take the form of an option to lease space or a building, an option to buy a building that you were gonna, run the facility out of. Well, all right. Sounds like we're of a mind to do a moratorium.
I think that's a cautious approach, and we've been burned before by jumping in head first, trying to write our regulations. And I'm not saying Vinny did a bad job. I think Kevin said it right. Looks like he did a nice job. I think the regulation that he wrote, I'd certainly agree with.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't have to last a year.
Right.
If
Well, that's-
if a reasonable process starts evolving that we can observe, then we
Yeah.
can bring it back up and act. I mean,
And we
you know.
basically have the regulation done, so it's not like we'd have to
Yeah,
craft
no,
it.
no.
They have to be
Just-
tweaked depending on how it shakes out.
Exactly.
Yep.
Oh, would you have to have another? Yeah, you'd have to have
Yes.
another public hearing.
Yes.
But, I'm thinking about, what's the opportunity we might be losing, and the answer to that is probably nothing, because at any time during the course of the year,
Right.
we could always adopt regulations and declare to the world that we're
Open.
for business in Orange.
And, we just had a discussion for the last 15 minutes about the chicken or the egg type of thing. Do they come to Orange first, secure a place? If Jack's getting inquiries about this kind of stuff, it may mean that, and we see that it's happening in other towns, that's going to be the tip-off that we're, maybe it's time to see how they're rolling it out and how they're doing.
I have received inquiries, by the way, from probably 2 or 3 different
And
entities looking for
Is it there?
or
Are they,
wondering what our decision was.
Are they looking for, have they applied for a license?
Not to my knowledge, no. I could be wrong. I didn't ask specifically if they had already gone through the state.
Right.
But I know I have been contacted by both retailers and legal representation of retailers who have locations in town in mind and are waiting to see what we determine regulation-wise before they, really pull the trigger. So there are people in line.
It seems to me as if we impose a moratorium, some of these issues like the licensure chronology and how that's addressed or applied,
Yeah,
that stuff can
become
pretty
clear.
easily be flushed out.
yeah.
And we could probably maybe lift the moratorium much sooner than a year.
Right. We're not bound to keep it for a full year.
And we'd have to hold another public hearing anyways, so if we get more turnout then, great.
All right, does everybody have a copy of the language imposing the moratorium? If not, I made some extra copies, so.
Yeah, just throw one.
Huh?
Oh, I do.
The only thing I note about this language is it gives an effective date of October, so it should be November 3rd.
November 3rd of 2022.
And then the expiration date would be November 1, 2022.
Depending on whatever our effective date is. Normally, we have an effective date of, a week or 2 later than the actual decision, but again, that can... So if we waited until November 10th for the effective date of this moratorium, then November 10th of 2022 was when it would end.
I'm asking about the other thing, though. Why do we have the effective date a week later?
It's That's the way I was told. Always had it happen because we have to pretty much notify everybody that it's going to happen, and instead of rushing, legal noticing, yeah.
Okay.
It could be sooner. I think a week was just done for it. It could be
The minimum time?
probably 2 or 3 days, just because I have to get the legal notice into the paper. If we make a decision tonight, the 3rd, then I would write the legal notice tomorrow, the 4th, and then it would actually be posted on the 5th in the paper. So it would take at least a couple days for an effective date to be noticed.
I don't see the need to wait. I would do it
Absolutely,
as
yeah.
minimum as possible, given what,
Well, I don't know why it can't be tonight.
well, apparently they have to
Well, we
publish.
could obviously vote tonight, but we have to notice, for it to be legally binding, a public notice has to appear in the paper, which takes 2 days. Because if I write it up tomorrow, send it into the paper, they're not, obviously, the paper's already out for November 4th.
Yeah.
Then on Friday, the 5th, it would appear in the paper and be legally binding.
All right, so you're saying pick a date a week from tonight.
Or sooner. I don't mind doing it. I mean, it'll take me 10 minutes to draft up a legal notice, send it to the paper, get a confirmation, and then they could run it the next day.
All right.
So 2 days
So do
minimum,
3.
really. Yeah, we could do 3 days. It could be on a weekend.
And as far as, what we have here, it says add regulation as follows. You'll figure out where in the regulations.
Yeah, in fact, I wrote myself a note here where I was going to put it under general for permitted uses, 383-19.1, which is actually where Vinny told us to, or was going to have us put, if we were to adopt regulations for it, that it would be allowed in these commercial 1 and commercial 2 districts only, and are prohibited in all other districts now existing or hereafter constituted. It would be in the same place, just a moratorium.
Okay.
So, and I can confirm that with Vinny tomorrow, but I was looking at that today, and that seems to make the most sense for where to locate it within our regs.
All right. All right, then I think that if someone's prepared to make a motion on adopting a moratorium, we probably should read this language into the record.
You want me to go back on the record?
Well,
I mean,
Yeah.
I would
I don't think we
imagine
can.
so.
Public
There's
hearing's
gonna be-
closed.
Huh?
Right.
no, I mean, well, or we could submit it, huh?
It'll be to the minutes.
Okay. So you don't think we need to read the entire the entire regulation into the?
I think we should read it into the record. It doesn't necessarily,
No, I
but
don't
we
mean
can
the
attach it. Yeah.
Right.
It would be part
In
of
the
the
minutes.
minutes.
Right, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do that. All right, is someone prepared to make a motion that we approve a moratorium?
Certainly, yes, I would like to make a motion that we approve the moratorium. I'm still a little unclear as to how I'm doing this. Am I reading the entire?
I think so, yes.
Okay, so I want to make sure I've got the proper documents. It's a 3-page.
It's one page.
Just the language on the first page.
Oh, okay. Look,
Just-
there's a,
Proposed zoning regulation text amendment, cannabis establishments.
I don't think I thought you gave it to me. Thanks. All right, anyhow, listen, I'd like to make a motion that we impose a moratorium, temporary and limited moratorium for the proposed zoning regulations text amendment for the cannabis establishments, medical marijuana producers, dispensary facilities, and/or retail distribution. The regulation should be as follows. Cannabis establishments and medical marijuana dispensaries and producers, the Orange Town Plan and Zoning Commission shall not accept or consider any of the application to permit the establishment of a cannabis establishment as defined below, or for the medical marijuana producers, dispensary facilities, and/or retail distribution as defined in Section 21A-408 and 21A-408-1 to 21A-408 108-70 of the Connecticut General Statutes for a period of 12 months commencing from the effective date as of November 5th, 2021. All such uses shall be prohibited in all zoning districts within the town of Orange. The moratorium is to allow the Town Plan and Zoning Commission sufficient time to review the state of Connecticut regulation of the Department of Consumer Protection concerning the palliative use of marijuana, and the June 2021 Connecticut Public Act concerning responsible and equitable regulation of adult use cannabis, Public Act 21-1, Senate Bill number 1201, in order to consider the adoption of potential changes to the zoning regulations pursuant to Section 8-2 of the Connecticut General Statutes and Section 383-210 of the Orange zoning regulations. The expiration date of said moratorium would be November 4th, 2022, or the effective date of the associated newly adopted zoning regulations, whichever is sooner. Now, do I need to start
You
reading?
should read the rest of that.
Cannabis shall mean marijuana as defined in Section 21A-240 of the Connecticut General Statutes. Cannabis establishment shall mean a producer, dispensary, facility, cultivator, micro-cultivator, retailer, hybrid retailer, food and beverage manufacturer, product packager, delivery service, or transporter as defined in the June 2021 Connecticut Public Act concerning responsible and equitable regulation of adult use cannabis, which is Public Act 21-1, Senate Bill number 1201.
All right, so we have a motion to adopt a moratorium. It's been read into our minutes.
Second.
We have a second, seconded by Commissioner Cornell. Any discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none, then all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None. All right, one other thing, I think I'm correct on this, Jack. There's a requirement to report any zoning changes adopted regarding cannabis establishments to the Secretary of the Office of Policy and Management and the Department of Consumer Protection.
I just wrote myself a note.
All right, so you'll take care of those?
Yeah, they sent us sent me an email that has a reporting form that goes directly to them, so they really streamlined that
All right.
process, so I can get them to that tomorrow.
And those are the only two state agencies?
Yes, to my knowledge.
All right, we
That's-
better, maybe if you need to talk to Benny's
Yeah, we'll
office, do that, but let's make sure that we give the right notices to the state of our,
Yep.
of our action
And I
today.
believe we do have 10 days to do that, so, you know,
Okay.
if I don't get a hold of Vin tomorrow,
Yeah.
but I'll be sure to reach out to them.
It's in one of the articles that
Yeah, yep.
you circulated or
Yeah,
that Vinny
no,
circulated.
I have it, I have it right here.
Okay.
My only other question, sorry to interrupt, is we don't have to formally deny
Well,
these other two.
that's exactly what's going on.
Okay, yeah. We don't have to formally deny the other two public hearings that were opened, even though they were heard consecutively, and obviously we only have one option to take.
Can it hurt if I do it?
Deny?
Do we have?
I mean, the closure of the public hearing was as to all the public hearings.
Correct.
And our discussion was as to all of them.
Correct.
Yeah, I think we probably should have a motion to deny, let's see,
Deny
the
5 and 6.
prohibition and
deny 5 and 6,
Yep.
having taken action on 7. Okay, is somebody prepared to make a motion that we deny the application or the initiative to prohibit cannabis establishments from all zoning districts within the town of Orange?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, and do we have a motion to, to deny the application to, or the initiative to adopt regulations making, requiring a special use permit in connection with a cannabis application?
So moved.
We have a motion, second from anybody?
Second.
It's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, so we've denied the motions, we denied the initiatives we don't want, and we've approved the one we do want. Any further comment? Okay. Well, that concludes our agenda for this evening.
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn the meeting,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Tarenti. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed. All right, thank you very much.